Hello, babe. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with a new story. How was your day today? I hope you had a marvelous day. If you're new to my channel, I'm Vera, but you can call me V, and I share amazing stories. And since this is something you will love, please subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Today's shout out goes to Mrs. Abuda, Abigail Apia 8054, and Mami Chesam. They were the first people to comment on my last video. Thank you so much for the support, babes. You know I love you. And now relax, get comfortable, and let's get right into it. I hadn't eaten the whole day. Not because I was fasting or on a diet, but because I simply couldn't afford food. I was just tired of my life. Tired of being hungry. Tired of waking up every morning with no job. Tired of pretending like things will eventually get better, when in truth, I had stopped believing that a long time ago. I sat at the edge of the bus stop, legs tucked under me, head bent low, so I wouldn't have to meet the eyes of the street vendors passing by. No one really noticed me. I had become invisible, just another struggling girl in a big noisy city that didn't care who you were unless you had money or something to offer. That is when I saw it, an iPhone, not just any iPhone, the latest iPhone, lying carelessly at the edge of the gutter, like God had dropped it there for me on purpose. My heart stopped. I looked around quickly. No one seemed to have noticed it. The crowd at the bus stop was loud, distracted. Everyone was either shouting, selling, buying, or arguing about transport fares. I picked it up, my hands shaking. I held it like gold. I couldn't lie to myself. I thought about selling it immediately. With the right blog, I could sell it for thousands, enough to pay my rent arrears, enough to buy food, maybe even save a little. I gripped the phone tightly and whispered, God, is this you answering my prayers? But as I stared at the screen, a strange heaviness settled in my chest. I thought about the person who had lost it. Someone was probably panicking, crying, running around trying to retrace their steps. I thought about how I would feel if I had something valuable and lost it, something I worked hard to get. Then I thought about my mother. She used to say, even if you have nothing, don't lose your name. Your name is what you will carry when everything else is gone. I sat back down and stared at the phone again. It was logged. Just one notification popped up. Mom calling. My throat tightened. Should I pick up? I hesitated before swiping to answer. Hello, I said softly, ready to lie and say I had just found it, ready to defend myself in case the voice on the other end turned aggressive. But instead, a calm voice responded, Hello, please. That phone belongs to my daughter. Thank you for picking up. I would be very grateful if you could return it. I wanted to hang up, but instead I said, Okay, where should I bring it? She paused. Where are you right now? Kaneshi, by the old bus terminal, I answered hesitantly. All right, stay there. I will send someone to pick you up. Wait, what? Pick me up? I thought she would ask me to drop it off at a shop or police station. But before I could say anything, she ended the call. I sat there for a minute, frozen. What just happened? Not long after, a sleek black car pulled up across the road. The window rolled down slightly. Are you the one with the phone? The driver asked. I nodded slowly. Madame sent me. I looked down at my clothes. They were faded and stained. Why not just take the phone? I asked myself. Why did you want me to come along? Maybe she wanted to thank me. Or maybe give me something small. So I got in. The driver didn't ask questions. He didn't make small talk. We drove in silence. We stopped at a hotel. A huge posh 5-star hotel. I almost asked the driver if he was sure this was the place. He nodded towards the entrance. She's waiting inside. I stepped out, legs shaking. I felt eyes on me, judging, scanning, wondering how someone like me had entered a place like this. And then I saw her. Standing by the reception desk was a tall woman in a cream-colored dress. She looked me up and down slowly. Her expression didn't change. She walked toward me and said, You must be the one with the phone. I nodded, barely able to speak. She smiled gently and said, Thank you for returning my daughter's phone. Not everyone would have. I shrugged. It just didn't feel right to keep it. She studied me again, not in a rude way, in a thoughtful way. Come and sit here. I was expecting to just give her the phone, maybe receive small cash as reward and leave. I sat down at where she pointed. What is your name? I hesitated and gave her my name. What is your story? She asked suddenly. I was taken aback. Why was she asking me so many questions? She looked me over again, this time with kindness. You are so young. Why do you look so tired? I froze. Nobody had ever asked me that. And somehow, that question unlocked something. I lowered my gaze, took a shaky breath, and spoke the truth. My name is Anne. I'm 25. My mom died when I was 16. My dad left when I was a child. I haven't seen him since. I stayed with one of my mom's friends, but after a while, I had to learn to survive on my own. She didn't interrupt, she just listened. Her eyes stayed on me the entire time, calm and focused. I went through secondary school, I made it to university. I studied marketing, graduated with decent grades, but after national service, nothing came. I applied for hundreds of jobs. I knocked on doors, sent CVs, did interviews, still nothing. So I started doing odd jobs, anything to eat, anything to pay rent. I swallowed hard. Sometimes I feel like I failed before life even gave me a real chance. She looked at me, her expression soft now, thoughtful. Yet you returned the phone, she said quietly, even when you had every reason not to. I didn't know what to say. My throat tightened. All I could do was nod. She sat up a little straighter. My daughter needs a personal assistant. I have been searching for someone loyal, someone honest. I held my breath. Then she asked, would you be interested in working with us as Zara's personal assistant? I blinked. Me? Yes, you. I wanted to say yes immediately, but part of me still didn't believe this was real. I I have never worked in that kind of role before, I whispered. She smiled. You will learn. You have something I can't teach, integrity. The rest, we will train you. That day, sitting across from a stranger who spoke to me with respect and hope, I felt like my life was no longer something I had to just survive. Maybe, just maybe, it was about to change. That is how I started working for Zara. She was everything you would expect a rich only daughter to be: gorgeous, intelligent, well dressed. And she was cold, very cold. She barely looked me in the eye. When she spoke to me, it was short, sharp, and distant. Commands, instructions, never conversation. Put my bag there, cancel that call, get the car keys. Once I smiled at her when I handed her a file, and she stared blankly at me and said, I don't need friends. Just do what you are paid to do. It hurts more than I expected it to. After everything I had gone through, I thought I was used to being invisible. But there's a different kind of pain when someone looks right at you and chooses to see nothing. But I didn't react. I just nodded and kept moving. It wasn't long before I realized the attitude wasn't about me. Zara was cold, yes, but she wasn't cruel. She wasn't lazy. She was just guarded, closed off. So I gave her space. I didn't push. I didn't try to win her over. I just did my job quietly. I made sure her calendar was up to date, her wardrobe was organized, her calls were handled, her food arrived warm. I didn't complain, even when she barely acknowledged it. But while she kept her distance, her mom did the opposite. Zara's mother became like an unexpected light in my life. She would stop me in the hallway and ask if I had eaten. Sometimes she would bring me a sandwich or a drink and say, you are doing well, Anne, keep it up. She would sit with me and explain things I didn't know: how PR works, how deals were negotiated, how Zara handles investors. Don't just save, she once told me, learn. So I did. I watched, I listened, I paid attention. I saw how Zara worked late into the night, perfecting her presentations. I noticed how she repeated positive affirmations to herself under her breath before walking into meetings. And quietly, I started learning, not just about her world, but about myself. That maybe I could belong here. Maybe I wasn't just surviving anymore. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. I had just returned from picking up Zara's dry cleaning when a gatekeeper called me aside. "There's someone asking for you," he said, pointing toward the street. A well-dressed man stood near the corner. He looked like someone important, confident, clean-cut, holding a sleek black notebook. He smiled as I approached. "Are you Anne?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, confused. He lowered his voice and leaned in slightly. "I am a journalist. I work with a major platform. I have been following the woman you work for, Zara, and her mother." I frowned immediately. "Why?" "Don't worry," he said quickly. "I am not here to harm anyone. In fact, I am here with an opportunity for you." He opened his notebook and flipped to a page. "There's so much interest in their family, the business. We would pay handsomely for any little details you can give us. Nothing too serious, just some inside gist. How they live, what they say, what people don't see online." My blood ran cold. "You want me to spy on them?" I asked. He smiled like it was nothing. "Not spy, just share. Nobody has to know it came from you, I promise. We protect our sources. You will be well paid. A few thousands just to start. You are not their blood, Anne. You owe them nothing." I looked him straight in the eye and said, "I won't do it." Then I walked away. But for the rest of the day, my stomach twisted. What if Zara found out? What if she thought I had spoken to him? Should I tell her about the journalist? By evening, my fears came true. "Zara wants to see you," the housekeeper said softly. My hands started shaking. I walked into her room slowly, my heart racing. She was sitting on the edge of her bed, laptop beside her, arms folded. She didn't look angry. She looked unreadable, cold and unreadable. "Sit," she said. I sat. "I sent him," she said. I blinked. "What?" "The journalist. I sent him." My chest tightened. It was a test, one I have said before. Most people fail. Some staff, even people I trusted, have sold me out for less than what he offered you. She paused and looked at me fully. For the first time, really looked. "But you didn't." I didn't know whether to cry or smile, so I just sat there, frozen. She leaned back slightly and said, more quietly now, "I see you, Anne." There was something about the way she said it, as if I had finally passed through a door she kept locked. Something changed after that day. Zara didn't become overly friendly or start hugging me, no. She was still Zara, sharp, focused, private. But there was a difference now, a softness in her tone. She started asking for my opinion. At first, it was small things. Which dress looks better for the panel? Or, "Do you think this caption is too much?" But gradually, it became deeper. "Does this deal sound fair? What would you do if you were in my shoes?" Each time she asked, I had to hide a surprise on my face. "Me? You want my thoughts?" Sometimes, while working late, she would call out, "Anne, sit, just keep me company." We wouldn't even talk much. She would type away while I quietly organized files or just sat beside her sipping tea. But the silence wasn't awkward anymore. It was familiar, comfortable. One afternoon at a business branch, one of her wealthy friends looked at me and raised a brow. "Since when do you hang out with staff?" the woman said, her voice half joking, half sneering. Zara didn't miss a beat. She looked her dead in the eye and replied, "She's not just staff, she's my friend." That sentence hit me like a wave. I smiled politely in front of them, but when I got to my room later that night, I cried. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen, not as the poor girl who was lucky to be around rich people, not as the help, but as a person, a human being with value, a friend. We began spending more time together intentionally. We laughed, we joked. She told me little stories about her childhood. She even opened up about her heartbreaks and the loneliness that success can bring. And I shared too, about my mother's last days. Somehow, two completely different worlds met and fit. Zara and I grew close. We became friends, real friends. The kind who didn't need to explain everything. The kind who could sit in silence and still feel connected. It wasn't just a job anymore. It was a bond. And without even realizing it, I was slowly stepping into a life I once thought belonged to other people. With friendship came opportunity. Zara started inviting me to places I never imagined I would see. Networking mixes, private business launches, women in leadership forums, brand partnership branches, real events, real power, real people. And she didn't just throw me in there unprepared. No, she made sure I looked the parts. You can't look like a stranger in those places, she would say, tossing me a dress or sliding over a slick pair of heels. Walk in it like you belong there. Each time, I'll stare at myself in the mirror before we leave. Hair done, skin glowing, designer label I didn't pay for. It was like I was watching a different girl being born. And slowly, I started to believe it. And mom didn't stay on the sidelines either. She became my quiet mentor. She would pull me aside during quiet moments and teach me things I never learned in school. How to read contracts, the power of personal branding, how to ask for your worth without blinking, how to sit in a room full of men and never shrink. My salary tripled. Yes, tripled. No long speeches, no promises. Just check your account. You have earned it. Then one day, Zara's mom called me to the balcony of their home. I remember that moment so clearly. She handed me an envelope and said, I want to sponsor your masters. I froze. She continued, you have given so much of yourself to this family, and I have seen how you have grown. You deserve the best education, not just because you are smart, but because you have integrity and drive. I believe in you. That did it. The tears came before I could stop them. For the first time in my life, someone was investing in me, not out of pity, but because they believed in my future. All those years of rejection, all the days I felt invisible, unwanted, forgotten, and now here I was, about to start a new journey. I flew with them to Dubai for an international business conference. I sat in boardrooms beside Zara and her mom. People shook my hand, asked my opinion, looked me in the eye like I belonged there. And this time, I knew I did. This wasn't just a new job anymore. This was my new life. It has been 8 years now. Sometimes when I look at my life, I have to pause just to take it all in. Because if someone had told that hungry, dusty girl sitting at the Kaneshi bus stop that the entire world was about to change from picking up one phone, I would have laughed in disbelief. I am no longer just an assistant. I am family now. Zara calls me a sister loudly, proudly, and publicly. A mom, she calls me a daughter. She even introduces me that way at events. Not staff, not formal help, daughter, and she means it. I've completed my masters, I've launched my own business, and still, I work closely with Zara's company. She says I am a right hand. I say she's my miracle. We've built something beautiful. We travel together. We celebrate birthdays, promotions, holidays. We cry together too. Because life hasn't been perfect, even with the money and success. But we've never left each other's side. The girl I used to be, the one who almost sold a phone out of desperation, still lives somewhere inside me. But now she's respected and loved. Every time I see the newest iPhone on a billboard or in a store, I smile. Not because of what it costs, but because of what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the moment everything changed, when I chose to do the right thing, when I had every reason not to. And that one choice, it didn't just return a lost phone, it returned me to myself. My name is Anne, and I thought I would die in poverty, but I was wrong. Because one decision, one moment of honesty, gave me the life I never dreamed I could have. The end. Oh, babe, I'm so happy for you. Babe, always do good. Sometimes this life is so difficult. The struggles are too much that you just can't help yourself. But if you can, please do good. And if you are going through anything, if you are struggling, if things are too hard for you, babe, your time is near. Things are going to change for you. Don't lose hope. See, things can change in a blink of an eye. Don't lose hope. Your time is coming. Let me hear your thoughts down below about this story. And Abi, you know that this is a judgment-free zone. We listen, we don't judge. And if you've not subscribed, come and join the family, babe. Please subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Okay, I'm done. Bye.